3 days of darkness, let me tell you everything that I know, and Lord knows I do not want to make this video. I don't like to speculate, and I'm not given to internet conspiracy theories, but I have something that I have to tell you. I do see something here. I've been seeing it here for a long time. It's time to come clean. I moved my family out of Alaska because of a gut feeling. Wasn't the only reason, it was just the first one that caused me to look for all the rest. Maybe it's silly, maybe none of this is true, but it bothered me so bad that I moved my family out of Alaska. This article was ran by Forbes over 6 years ago and can only help you speculate. This is the Edgar Cayce map, a clairvoyant communing with demons to see the future. Potentially total garbage. Only I don't think it is. Because this makes some kind of sense to me that I cannot explain. Now, until very recently, and I mean this month, I did not know that there was a correlation between total solar eclipses and devastating earthquakes. And now that I do, the plot is getting real thick, fam. In September of 1811, a total solar eclipse took this path through the United States. And in December of 1811, the New Madrid fault line popped off in a series of devastating earthquakes that lasted all the way through into January. Now, the scientists say there is increased earthquake activity in the face of new moons, a new moon being required for a total solar eclipse. There is a scientific correlation there that seems to have everything to do with causation. But it was 3 months after the eclipse. What's your point? If a barge goes under a bridge and hits one of the supports and damages it, there might be 2,000 vehicles roll over the bridge before it gives out, is what I'm saying. So that the new moon of a solar eclipse is like a barge passing under a bridge and hitting one of the supports. This is the path the total solar eclipse took in July 1963. Funny thing, it passed right through Talkeetna, Alaska, where my family and I lived, long before we were born. And then in March of 1964, a devastating earthquake tore Anchorage all to pieces. Solar eclipse is not an instant trigger, it's more like a fatal wound to the fault line. Doesn't mean there's going to be a terrible earthquake after every total solar eclipse, but every total solar eclipse affects the fault lines they pass over because of that new moon, scientifically. Whether I explain these events spiritually or physically, they are true both ways. It is the spiritual producing the physical. After the total solar eclipse of 1811, there was a series of devastating earthquakes, followed by years of decline straight into the Great Depression. Followed by the Great Depression, did you hear? Do total solar eclipses just mean earthquakes? No. They affect more than just fault lines. They warn of much more than just earthquakes. Look, if I could make this stuff up out of my own mind, I'd be God. Get it? But instead, look at us little bitty babies just learning about his creation, don't even know how it works. So, Rutro, what the stink is that converging right over top of the New Madrid fault? I mean, can you say X marks the spot? What is going on there? This is the path of the solar eclipse from August 21st of 2017. Well, nothing happened after that one, did it? It didn't warn of anything at all. Y'all forget about COVID and every single thing that has happened to our country since then? That wasn't enough to get your attention, get your minds right? Well, this is the path of that solar eclipse that's about to happen on April 8th. And the very spot where it crosses the path of the last one is the New Madrid fault line. Y'all don't see that right there? If you do not believe in God and only believe in science, that right there is alarming, bruh. And I mean, call the National Guard. See if they can stop it. Time for a Bible punch in the mouth. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Y'all think that's a random coincidence? This is the scientific prediction should that fault line pop off. Should that New Madrid fault line pop off right there, this is the prognosticator's view of what the future topography of the United States of America is going to look like. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen at all, only that it would make great and terrible sense to me if it did. I am no authority on this subject as far as men are concerned. I got 2 years of videos you can scroll though and decide for yourself whether I have authority and where it might be from. And still, that's not to say that this is true or false, only that it makes sense to me, but who am I? The scientists have no authority whatsoever to tell us how it's actually going to happen, and neither do I know exactly how it's going to play out in the details. We are all speculating on what exactly it's going to be. It is God who is in control of what it will be. But he gave us plenty of potential to consider in the face of world history. In March of 2011, a 9.1 undersea megathrust earthquake occurred in the Pacific Ocean, 72 miles off the coast of Japan. In July of 2010, there was a total solar eclipse that passed over the Pacific. Why would this affect Japan at all? Oh snap, this is the Ring of Fire, and that total solar eclipse went exactly this way. And that megathrust earthquake hit Japan this way. Oh, there's a pattern, a recurring series of events here. A pattern I did not know when I got the gut feeling to move my family out of Alaska. Not that that counts for anything. Except with me, I trust my gut. Did you know if they knew all the variables, they could predict all of the earthquakes too? It's on a schedule. What's funny is when I made that first Sign of Jonah video, I wasn't thinking about any of this at all. Not considering this as a potential for anything. I was thinking World War III is on our doorstep, and it is. The economy goes down, maybe a new round of disease, which thing is pestilence. Oh snap, if pestilence followed the 2017 eclipse, is there some way to know where we are on the timeline of what it means, what eclipses mean, or what's following them specifically, each one? Probably, I haven't looked at that yet, but I'm pretty sure, you'd find it. 'Cause wouldn't that make sense? 3 days of darkness, as we're all hearing about it, is based on a false private prophecy wherein in 3 days of darkness, the Catholic Church's enemies will all be destroyed. And that might sound good on the surface, but they got that whole idea from the Bible to begin with, and men have been making false prophecies out of stuff they got in the Bible this whole time. Internet conspiracies also need not apply, because they're so chock full of disinformation, it's hard to sort it out, 3 days of darkness was one of the plagues that descended on Egypt during the Exodus. Precluding the Exodus. Does that mean we're about to get an Exodus? I stinking hope so, I really do. Does it mean we're gonna get a revival? Well man, that's what I would surely love. Does it mean we're going into the wilderness? Well, that's what comes with it. Don't complain about the lack of onions, and don't ask for no geese. In the wilderness they wanted geese. God gave them geese. Everybody that ate goose died. Y'all think this is a game based on your pleasures and desires? It is not. This surely means something rather than nothing. I can't tell you exactly what's gonna happen. I am ignorant of far too much. I can tell you exactly what there is to do about it though, and how to prepare entirely. The only way to prepare for what is gonna follow this. It ain't stacking up food, water, and ammo. It's not fortifying your shelter. It's not preps. Nobody's promised tomorrow whether there's a calamity or not. What are you preparing for? The only way to prepare is to keep the Lord's commands. And when whatever happens, happens, if you are found keeping your Lord's commands to love your neighbor as yourself. Look, we ain't talking about being greedy and selfish. We're talking about laying down our lives for our friends. If you are found doing that, you have nothing at all to worry about in this life or the next. It don't matter what happens if that's what you're doing. If your heart is inclined towards the Lord, let the sky fall. It's all for you by His good pleasure. He's doing it all for you because it pleases Him to do for you. It doesn't matter what it looks like to the children of men. If you are a child of God, there is only glory ahead of you, and that's why it's all happening. It might look a little scary to your flesh because your flesh doesn't want to die. Once it does, the show's over. That's the end for the flesh. Dust you are, and to the dust you shall return. Flesh, but like a seed planted in fertile soil, so is every Christian that goes into the ground. A seed never comes back as what it was, though it bear much fruit. There's nothing to be afraid of except that you are on the Lord's side. If God is for us, no one can be against us, in heaven or on earth. And this is a sign for your benefit, like a loving father warning his children. And the only way to prepare is to turn your heart and your mind back to the commandments of Jesus Christ. That's why we're getting the warning, because we're not doing that right now. And doing the commandments of Jesus Christ is our life. If we're not going to do that, there's no reason for us to be here. We're supposed to be sowing seeds and watering seeds for His harvest by loving everyone around us regardless of their opinions of us. This is the way to life. I'm going live tomorrow, Thursday, 8 p.m. Texas time with my brother Oscar D.